So today we continue with our class of laws of Shabbos. Today is class number 43, and I want to dedicate to our special friend who is in a very difficult situation right now. So let's learn for Atzlacha Rabbah, Ethan ben Sarah. May HaShem make him strong, and he should persevere in all of this trouble that he's in right now. Right? And let this Torah, our Torah class, help him. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. All right, so today we continue with Sefer Chafetz Chaim, and today's big topic is the same: loss of To'eles. To'eles, just to remind us, it's meant for constructive purpose. And today's topic is parameters. Okay. The most common constructive purpose, which justifies speaking negatively about a person, falls under 4 categories. Number 1, to help person about whom one is speaking. For example, discuss a personal faults with someone else in order to help the person to improve. Okay, so you know that you have friend have such and such weakness, right? Some such and such issues. And you, because you like this friend, you love him very much, you want to only best for him, you want to help him. So you want to try to get somebody else involved who actually can help you. Okay, did I miss it? Okay, who can actually help you? All right. So in this case, it would be allowed for you to share with that person some information. Okay. Number 2, to help those who have been adversely affected by the person's behavior. Okay, so what does it mean? A, providing help for people physically and psychologically or financially victimized by him. All right, so in this case, so you can hear the story, what happened, and you decide how to help that person. Okay. And B, protecting people from fallen victims to his behavior in the future, including warning and the unsuspecting who are seriously considering entering into unhealthy social or business relations with him. Okay, so basically, you know that this union is not going to bring any good to people, right? So you're trying to warn these people not to enter in this relationship, whether it's marriage or business or otherwise. Okay. Number 3, to help put the end to a dispute in which a person is involved and which threatened to divide the community. So, I mean, it's the way I see it, it's the way I understand it, happens very, very often. And that's, they say, as our great rabbis say, that's the reason why we have so many shuls. We need so many shuls around? No. Why so the question is asked, is it a good thing that we have so many shuls? And the answer was, no, it's not good. So it just shows the division people. So people wants to be in charge. This rabbi think that he would be better rabbi. Maybe true, maybe not. It's a different story. And this person's think that he is better. He's going to be a better gabbai. And that person is going to think that he's going to be a good president. And this person's think that it's good opportunity for him to invest, to put his name on the building. So that's all of it, because it starts with all of the disputes. Number 4, to help others to learn from the person's mistakes. Okay, so it's 4th written. So meaning that somebody try to do this avenue and look when they end up. Basically not good. Okay. So we can stop here and continue with our laws of Shabbos. So last time we started Melach of time, and we said it's one of the Torah Melachas. And we said time and untime, 2 different things. And we said the halachic definition on tying is two pliable materials, right? And they tie together, and they cannot untie without unravel without any manipulation. That's considered to be a knot. So others are not considered to be collectively knots, right? And we said there are two views: what is a knot, what is a knot. And we said according to Reuven and Rambam. So they say in order for a knot to be biblically considered knot, right, it has to have two conditions. So first of all, it has to be professional knot, as we said in last time in introduction. So a professional knot meaning when they were doing weaving all of these garments for Kohen Gadol, for other Kohanim, the curtains, so you have to be professional. So that knot is a professional knot. For all of this, the nets to catch kilazon also, as we understand, professional knot. And then the second condition for that Reuven and Rambam said, it's that it should be permanent. Okay. And they say only if one condition applies, that it's not biblical, but it's at least a rabbinical prohibition to make such a knot. Meaning that if it's only if it's permanent but not rabbinic, but not professional, or if it's professional but not permanent. Okay, so Rashi and Rosh, they say different. They say only permanent knot is a true knot. So what is a permanent knot? We said that the one that is left there indefinitely. So it's biblical law, but more than one day is forbidden by rabbinical law. Okay, that's what we said so far. Okay, so as we understand, there is no agreement, right, between these two sides. Okay, so let's read the last thing that we said and continue, right, because it's very interesting. The practical difference between these opinions is whether one is permitted to tie professional knot with intent to open it within the 24 hours. Okay, so according to the first opinion, that is forbidden rabbinically. So they say even one condition is prohibited rabbinically, whereas according to the second opinion, it is permitted. So second opinion, we said, Rashi said, if it's not permanent, there is no problem, doesn't matter, it's professional, not professional. Another practical difference is whether it is permitted to make a non-professional knot that will remain in place for more than 1 day, non-professional, more than 1 day, but not indefinitely. According to this, to the first opinion, this type of knot is permitted, whereas according to the second opinion, it is forbidden rabbinically. Okay, so we see all the differences. Okay, so let's see. So B, accepted halacha. And it says, according to Rama, Orach Chaim 3:17.1, there is no final decision concerning the affirmation dispute, and we must therefore adhere to the stringencies that emerge from each view. Right? It is thus prohibited to tie. Okay, to tie, and we're going to see 1, 2, 3. So basically, as author is saying, there is no one like clear-cut halachas. I mean, there is a clear-cut halacha. There is not clearly. We cannot clearly decide who is right, who is not right in this case. Okay, so we go by stringency from each view. So number 1, any permanent knot, whether professional or not, this is prohibited rabbinically, according to the first view, and biblically according to the second view. Any questions? Okay.
I have one.
Please.
What would be the best way to directly, I guess, not to make any knot on Shabbat?
No. If it's only like for example, you tie your shoelaces, you have to make a knot. Like, how can you do without knot? So if you tie a knot, you must be sure that you are going to untie in the next 24 hours and until Shabbos end. That's clearly straightforward.
Until the end or after?
Preferably in the same day until the Shabbos or Untie. So
all right.
basically,
Wait.
Go ahead.
Yes. So I want to ask. So because you intentionally tied your shoe, right? Does it count as an intentional malacha if you forgot to untie it?
You see, usually I would not call it intentional because you usually you mean to untie, unless you see the problem would be the way I see it, right? The problem would be with the people who tie it once a year and then tie it next time when it unties itself. So they slip off. So that's these people. So I mean, for them it would be for sure it's an issue. They cannot do that because for them it is permanent. So they don't want to tie it again. But if for all other normal people, you tie it in the morning, you go to the shul here and there. So you come home or wherever you go. So you take off the shoes. You untie them. That's your thing.
Does it count as benefiting if you tied your shoe on Shabbos and forgot to untie it after Shabbos and you wear it after Shabbos?
It's usually I apologize. That's what I was trying to say. So I didn't finish my thought. Sorry. So it's not your intention. It's not your intention not to untie it. So it's like negligence. And as we said, you have according to some people, so you have 24 hours. According to more lenient, the most lenient view. I mean, in case of the need, we can rely, but usually we don't. You have until the next Shabbos, basically, to untie. So, but of course, we're trying to do the mitzvah as soon as possible, meaning untie it until the end of the Shabbos. Make sense? Okay. Continue.
Understood. Yes.
Okay. So one more time. This number one. Any permanent knot, whether professional or not, this is that's prohibited. Any permanent knot is prohibited. This is prohibited rabbinically, according to the first view, and biblically according to the second view. Okay, so all of the permanent knots are prohibited, right? So according to first opinion is rabbinically because it says professional plus permanent, right? So we said that that's biblical. If only one of them it's rabbinical. So and second you said no, it's if only it's personal, it's already if it's only permanent, it's already biblical. Okay, so that's number one. Permanent knot is never allowed, basically. Number two, any professional knot, whether permanent or temporary, this prohibited rabbinically according to the first view. So it's forbidden to tie the professional knot. Me personally, I don't know any professional knots. Okay. Whether okay. So
Hey, Rabbi, does this count towards like braiding hair or no? Because hair might stay in place.
Braiding hair. I think no. The braiding of the hair, if they put something at the end, so it's going to hold together. Yes, but if not, it's not. I mean, I think it's can unravel itself. Right? So it's not going to stay in one place.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. So and number 2 was professional knot. Whatever is it, right? Professional knot, whether permanent or temporary, doesn't matter. Permanent or temporary, this prohibit according to the first view. Okay, rabbinic. Number 3, any knot that is meant to remain in place for more than 24 hours. This is prohibited rabbinically according to the second view. Okay, so more than 24 hours. According to the second view, let me read the note. It says, however, in the case of necessity, one may rely on opinion that it is permitted to tie a non-professional knot that is meant to remain in place for less than 7 days. We will elaborate on this below. So in some cases, for example, we're going to see in some cases, you are we are going to be allowed to tie double knot, even double knot. So it's for sure double knot is permanent knot. So for example, in case of the children's shoes, when they continue like untying, like and they somehow they make all of the shoelaces so long, it's unbelievable. I'm not sure why they should be so long. Okay, so in this case, so in some instances, we're allowed to make a double knot, but for sure we know that we're going to untie them when they go to come home. Okay, so C, defining the criteria. Okay, so number one, professional knot. In describing forbidden knots, the Gemara cites as example knots that were commonly tied by people employed in various trades in those times. However, nowadays it is unclear precisely how those knots were tied, and it is thus difficult to determine what is considered a professional knot. The Poskim therefore rule that any tight double knot should be regarded as professional knot. Okay, so I mean they're very clear. Since we do not know what is professional knot, we don't make these nets to catch hilazon. We don't make these knots for when we weave these priestly garments. So okay, so they say the bottom line for us, simplify all of the double knots, it's professional knot. Similarly, single knot tied tightly in a single strand of rope, either at the end or at the center, should be regarded as a professional knot. So as we said, if he ties something like in the middle of the rope, even one single one knot, I mean, it's professional knot, it's impossible for it to be undone by itself. Okay. However, a single knot and a bow tied in two strands over rope, over two ends of the strand, for example, shoelace, is not considered professional knot, but ordinary knot. Okay, so all of this, when we tie shoelaces, that's not problem. Okay, we good? Any questions? Okay, I shall continue. Number two, a permanent knot. Okay, so now we give the definition of professional knot. Right, so professional knot. One more time we say it's since we do not know, so we decided that it's going to be double knot, or like a single knot, but in the middle of the rope, right? And now we're going to permanent knots. As mentioned above, a knot is considered permanent if it is meant to be left in place indefinitely. So indefinitely meaning you don't have any specific day when you want to untie it. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, so a permanent knot is 20. We'll say 24 hours. How long is a professional knot?
No. What's that? We didn't get to 24 hours. So far, we said what is permanent knot? Indefinitely. You don't have any intention to untie it. Like I give you a good example: garbage bag. Right? I mean, maybe you're going to remember that you threw something very useful, and it was by mistake, and you want to open your garbage bag and get this item back. Maybe yes, but most likely no. You understand? But when you tie that knot, that's it. That's permanent.
What about professional knot?
So professional knot, we said that one that would not be undone by itself. So meaning like double knot.
Yeah, but I mean, when does it become a malacha? Sorry. Like
so when somebody tied a double knot, it is melacha.
Oh, right away. There's no time.
Right away, right away. No, right away. And unless as we're going to learn, there are some exceptions to the rules, some exceptions, but most likely, like for example, if you have a garbage bag, right, and you tie with one knot, and on top of knot, that's how I tie the garbage bag. So what does it mean? It's permanent. I'm not going to untie it. I'm not going to outside to throw to the garbage pail. It's a different issue, right? So as soon as I did it, that's it. I have no intention to untie it. Agree? I mean, I think that's a good example.
I agree.
Okay. Continue.
Yes.
I have one question.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
About the garbage bag. I'm pretty sure you are not allowed to throw the garbage on Shabbos.
But it's a different issue. Yeah, you're right. It's a different issue. I'm saying, for example, your garbage is full, right? And you want to take it out and put another bag. That's the situation. Whatever you said is correct 100%. So you cannot, if you take one garbage bag out, so you cannot tie the second bag. You can tie with one knot, but not double knot.
Wait, but if you tie if you tie it with one knot, it's going to be a permanent knot still. No, then it's going to be over 24 hours.
Single knot is never permanent. So we said that what is not permanent, that it can be undone by itself. As example we gave last time, I think it's a good example. So if you have a bag and it's like too much garbage in there, so you just leave it be, it's going to undone by itself. It's going to spread. Yeah.
So I have this question for you then. So you said what matters is that if the knot itself can untie, right?
Yeah.
So
let's say it's not permanent. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you put in a position. Let's say you tied a bag, and then over the bag, you also put over the knot. You put tape. Now the knot itself could untie, but because the tape it can't.
That's it. Yeah. So,
that's
tape. But tape is a different issue. The tape is it's a different malacha.
Yes. But in general, but the knot malacha, you don't go. It's not prohibited to do it that way.
Yes.
Just for the knot.
Yeah,
okay. Understood.
Yeah. Okay, Israel, you have the question?
Yes. So where we put the garbage can if it is turning smelly?
Okay, so you can tie it one time, right? And let's say I'm making it up, right? So in order to not to smell, put something on top. Put something on top so it's not going to smell, or you put another bag on top, right? Just to cover it. Do one knot, put something on top, and something like heavy so it would not untie. That's it.
And can you throw this bag into the bathroom?
In the bathroom, but it's not going to flush. I mean, what is
until the end of
Shabbos?
Yeah.
Of course. Yes. I apologize. There is no problem. Okay. So okay.
Why can you just use Febreze on the bag or no?
Say it again. Can
I
use
what? Like a spray, to make it smell better.
Oh yes. Okay, so you can spray around, right, with air freshener, right? Air freshener.
Yes. So I have this question for you because I know we're not allowed to have, let's say, a TV on Shabbos.
Yes.
But let's say you have one of those air fresheners where you have to plug them in. You understand?
No.
Is that allowed?
No.
Not allowed.
No, I'm regular one. They can. You just press the
button. Got it.
Yes. Okay, Abraham, you good? Any questions from your side?
No, I'm still listening.
Okay, so listen. So we're learning how it's not allowed to tie knots. Okay. So let's do this piece from the beginning. So one more time, this permanent knots. As mentioned above, a knot that's considered permanent if it is meant to be left in place indefinitely. Meaning, indefinite means that I don't have any plans to untie. That means indefinite.
Does it become a malacha? Let's say you don't have intent to untie it. Do you get chorus right away because you didn't have intent, or do you only get chorus either way, intent, no intent, until Shabbos?
I think only it's only after the fact. Because why? Because maybe somebody else who is going to untie it. Maybe you're going to remember, right? So many things. It's only after all of the things pass, and that's it. Okay.
Understood.
Continue. But good question. This holds true, even if there is a possibility that the knot will be undone later. Okay, so it is still professional. It's not allowed. Okay. However, this is not determined by the intention of the person. tying the knot, but rather by the practice of the most people who commonly tied the particular knot. To illustrate, most people who tied tzitz strings to a talus leave them in place permanently. Therefore, when one ties tzitzis to his talus, he is deemed to be making permanent knots, even if he intends to undo the knots as soon afterwards. So, for example, I think it's a perfect example. So basically, he has this talus and tzitzis are missing, and he wants to tie the tzitzis and tie the tzitzis. It's not the last knot. It's a first knot that is tied to the garment itself, right? So even when you make, I'll show you. So when you make this first knot, you already tied the tzitzis. So all of these are good, but they're extra. You understand? So person wants to tie this first knot, and he has intention to untie it after Shabbos. For example, he wants to wear tzitzis. So they say it's not allowed. Why? Because most of the people just leave them forever. So we don't go by a personal intention, by like what people do. Continue. The prohibition of tying permanent knot applies even if the person will not benefit from the knot permanently. For example, he needs it only for a short time. For example, when a person ties up a garbage bag, he requires it to remain tight only until the trash is collected, which makes sense. Nevertheless, this knot is considered a permanent one, since the top of the knot usually remains tight permanently. Okay, so basically, it's not his intention. I mean, does he care about the knot? Okay, he only cares about this garbage bag to be tight, this double knot, only until they are going to pick up the garbage. So as we said before, you don't smell, you don't want all of these things, right? But still, it is permanent knot because he does not have intention to untie it, and usually people don't. Even if he has, like he decided, I want to tie a double knot because of the smell, it's not allowed because people usually like leave it be. Okay. So continue.
Wait, but does the same hold true the other way around? Because over here we see even if you don't have permanent, even if you don't want to make it permanent, but everybody else does it with intention to make it permanent, it counts as a permanent knot. But let's say everybody else ties it to make it not permanent, but you tie it to make it permanent. Does it still count like them, or does it count like you?
No. In this case, we go by stringency. So the example would be, as we said before, I think it's a good point that you brought. So the example would be the shoelaces. So if these people who will tie shoelaces once in a lifetime, right, unless they unravel, right? So for them, it's a permanent knot. In his mind, it's specifically he does not want to tie it again. So his intention, it is a permanent knot.
Understood.
But in this case, in this example that we just gave, I do not care about this perm. I want it to be like not to smell until they collect the garbage. Maybe they collect the garbage, I don't know, Shabbos night. I don't know, whatever, Sunday morning, let's say, right? So if they collect Sunday or Shabbos, okay, I give you a good example. So by me, they collect the garbage on the Shabbos morning. So basically, we have to put everything, all of the cans on Friday, right? So I cannot throw this garbage, right? I cannot do that double knot and throw this garbage on Friday night, like after the sundown, right? Because why? Because of this double knot issue. Okay. So continue. The knot that number 3. The knot that will remain in place longer than 24 hours. So that's what many people know, and that's what many people ask. So more than 24 hours. Okay. It is forbidden rabbinically to tie any knot which with intent to leave it intact longer than 24 hours. Okay, so 24 hours. So I said before the end of the Shabbos, that's the perfect way. So they say, okay, more than 24 hours, right? It's forbidden rabbinic. Okay. In a contrast to the previous rule, this rule applies only when a person time the knot specifically intends to leave it in place for longer than 24-hour period. So in this case, it's going to be rabbinic. Or it is a practice of to always leave that particular item tied for longer than 24 hours. One is permitted to tie a knot with no specific intent if he sometimes unties the particular item that he is tying within the 24 hours. Okay, so we're going to give example what is all mean. For example, it is forbidden to tie one's shoes with a single knot and a bow if one intends to leave them tied for more than a day, right? So more than a day, it is forbidden. Or if one always, yeah.
So let's say someone ties his shoes, right? And he's the type of person who wishes that his shoes would always stay tied, but he knows after 24 hours they'll before 24 hours even they'll untie, right? Does it count as if he was making a permanent knot? Because either way for him it's going to untie in 24 hours.
So somehow, what I noticed in this life, so these people know how to tie the shoes that will stay permanent. Don't ask me how, but they know. Me, I tie the shoes. I have to retie them sometimes, a few times. They keep untying me. Even I tried like to tie it not tight. I don't know what's wrong, but maybe because I work, maybe it's like it moves all the time. I'm not sure. But these people know what they're doing, and they have intention not to tie until they have to throw out the shoes tight. You understand? So even if it's done by mistake, I mean, it's still forbidden to begin with. So after the fact, there is no problem, but it's not because to their crime there is no problem. Okay, so let's do this example again. For example, it is forbidden to tie one's shoes with a single knot and a bow if one intends to leave them tied for more than a day, or if one always leaves his shoes tied for several days at a time and sleeps them on and off his feet. However, if it is permitted for one to tie the shoes with a single knot and a bow without specific intent, and one sometimes untie the shoelaces within the 24 hours of tying them. So I mean that's me personally. I don't see how is it. Like this situation does not make sense to me. I mean, if you always untie the shoes, so the way you tie in the beginning, it's you cannot take them off unless you untie it. That's the thing. So these people who tie it like a permanent tie, they would tie it in a way that you can always take the foot of the shoes with the shoelaces on. Okay, so I'm not sure how is it possible. Sometimes he would do, sometimes he would not do. I'm not sure. Okay, so continue. There is an exception to the rule that one is permitted to tie a non-professional knot for less than 24 hours. Okay, so one more time. Professional, as we said, like double knot and stuff like that, for less than 24 hours. The sages prohibited tying a knot, even with specific intent to undo it the same day, if one sometimes leave this type of knot in place permanently. So here's a very interesting twist. So the professional knot is a knot that's not going to be untied by itself. So we said why they say even for 24 hours it is forbidden, because even if he had the intention to undo it, because sometimes he would leave it like that. So basically, if he's in a situation, I'm just adding, right, that he would be forced to untie, so there is no problem. Okay, so let's see. The sages forbade this out of concern that for the possibility that one would reconsider and decide to leave the knot in place permanently, and it would be thus emerge that transgress biblical prohibition by tying this knot. So technically, we would say that for short-term professional knot is forbidden rabbinically. Why? Because if he does not untie it, so it's going to be biblical prohibition. Okay. So it's like a fence around the Torah. One of the examples, fence around the Torah. So our sages said it's too much online to risk. So if you do this, it might bring you to the next step. The rabbinical prohibition, just as mentioned applies only to instances in which one sometimes leaves the particular knot in place permanently. It is permitted to tie for less than 24 hours, and not that is one sometimes leave in place for longer than 24 hours, but not permanently. So even this non-professional knot, even for more than 24 hours, sometimes, but not permanently. The sages did not forbid this because if the person reconsiders to leave the knot in place for 24 hours, he will transgress only rabbinic prohibition. So let me read just one more time, and let's go over this rule because all of the other things depends on it. So one more time. Rabbinical prohibition just mentioned applies only to instances in which one sometimes leave the particular knot in place permanently. So if there is possibility that he would leave this knot, or he did in the past permanently we said more than 1 day, right? Or the way I see it, more than 1 day, that it's not going to bother him to untie. Like he has no use for that thing, right? Well, whatever is it. It is permitted to tie for less than 24 hours, and not that sometimes leave in place for longer than 24 hours, but not permanent. So, okay, so rabbinically, it is forbidden if sometimes he would leave for tie forever. So they say, but if there is such a condition that he would untie within the 24 hours, so they say there is no problem. The sages did not forbid this because even if the person reconsiders and leaves the knot in place for 24 hours, he will transgress only a rabbinical prohibition. So if his action can bring to transgress biblical prohibition, not allowed. But if his action might possibly bring him to transgress rabbinical prohibition, so in case of the need, we're going to go lenient. Okay, so let's read the summary. In conclusion, based on the criteria set for the above, it is forbidden on Shabbos to tie. Number one, tie a double knot, regardless how long it will remain intact. So all of these garbage bags, all of the shoelaces, all of the we said like these raincoats, like this long fancy schmancy raincoats with a belt. So that would be forbidden. Okay. Number two, a tight single knot in a single strand of rope or the other pliable material, regardless how long it will remain intact. So basically, as we explained last time, so if you don't remember, so it's like in this strand of rope, and in the middle you make a single knot. So of course it's not going to be done by itself; it's impossible. So that's another permanent knot. Number three, any type of knot, for example, single knot with a bow, if it will be left intact for more than 1 day. So example, so it is forbidden, right? Because it is a permanent knot. So example that we give this shoelaces. the lazy guy does not want to untie. Number 4, any knot that people sometimes leave in place permanently. Okay, sometimes that people, maybe not him, but other people. It is permitted to tie a non-professional knot, for example, a single knot in a ball, for less than 24 hours, provided there is not type of the knot that sometimes left in place permanently. So concerning this, I would say a good example would be a garbage bag. So the guy say, you know what, I'm not going to tie it with a double knot, as people usually do. I'm going to tie it with a knot and the ball, right? So this is clearly prohibited because most of the people, even if they tie it this way, they're not going to untie it. Not that in general, any knot that may not be tied on Shabbos may also be not untied. Okay, whatever you cannot tie, in general rule, you cannot untie. There are some exceptions to these rules, and those will be set forth in the following chapter. So this chapter, so as we said before in introduction, tying knots is one melacha, one of the 39, and untying is another one of 39 melacha. Okay, so part number 3. Any questions, Abraham? You clear?
Good. Oh, good. Thank you.
So
I have one. As I was quite concerned about the biblical prohibition of knots.
Okay.
So how I want to know again how it is forbidden.
Say it again.
What is the most important issue to take into account concerning the biblical prohibition of time?
Okay, you know what I would say. So we have time. So let's cover the next section, and next section is going to tell us what is permitted. So far we said only what is forbidden. So let's learn about what is permitted, and maybe they're going to answer the question. Okay. So just be patient. So, and if it's still not clear, we're going to go back to your question. Okay. So part number 3, various methods of time that are permitted. Up to this point, we have discussed restriction pertaining to the knots, both professional and non-professional ones. We will now discuss various methods of time that are permanent. Some of these methods do not involve knots at all. Okay. And may therefore be employed even to fasten something permanently. Okay, we're going to see. So it's not knots, something that halachically would not be knots. Okay, so we'll see. Others involve knots that are considered not professional and may be employed only in temporary fastening. Okay, so what are we talking about? A single knot. A single knot involves 2 strands of rope. There is the first strand, for example, the first stage of tying shoelaces. So this first stage, one single knot, is not halachically considered a knot at all. So one single knot, when you tie the shoelaces, the first one, so it's not, even though we call it knot, but halachically it's not knot. Since it tends to come apart naturally, through the slightest pressure. So if you tie shoes with one knot and you start walking, it's going to untie very soon. Right? It is therefore permissible to tie this type of knot on Shabbos and draw it tight, even if it does not intend to ever untie it. So I mean, I would say if you go back to this garbage bag, right? So if you tie one knot tight, and of course you don't want to untie it, you want the smell to come out, so they say still no problem. It's not considered a knot. Okay. So single knot is not halachically knot. Continue. B. Bows, right? A bow without any underlying knot is not considered a knot. So if you can tie a bow without a knot underneath, so as we understand, can be undone very easily. One is therefore permitted to make a bow, even if he draws it tight, and even if he intends to leave the place permanently. It is also permissible to make one bow on top of another, one to leave them tied permanently. Since bows unravel through a single tug, so you just pull one and it's undone, at the end of the string, even if double bow is not considered a knot. So this bow you can do, I'm not sure, like what is the benefits? I mean, I would say it's better, it holds better than double knot, than single knot. So double bow better than, I guess. No, I mean, makes sense, but you can always like just tag it and do it. Continue. Number C, slip knots. Slip knots is not considered knots since it comes apart with a single tag. It may be therefore tied even permanently. So basically here we're talking about simple knot as we said last time on your tie. So basically you're allowed to tie like single, like I don't know what it's called, like one-sided tie, the knot. I'm not sure what is it called. So because why you just pull this shorter end and it's going to unravel very simply. So there is no, it's not considered to be a knot. Halachically. Continue. Single knot with a bow. Although a single knot and the single bow are not considered knot individually, a single knot with a bow on top of it is considered a knot. So single, the way that we tie our shoelaces. Since the bow holds the unraveling knot in place, right? So I mean the knot underneath is not going to be undone by itself. That's not how. Just 1 second. Since the bow holds the unraveled knot in a place, and it does not unravel completely, is one tag. So even if you tag it, if you pull it, this one end is not. Maybe it's going to undone. Not maybe it's going to undone to unravel the bow, but not the knot. Right. So it's not exactly like. Not professional, it's like intermediate. It may be timed temporarily for less than 24 hours. So one more time. So that's what Israel asked us. So we're saying that single knot in the bow, if it's under 24 hours, no problem. Or slip knot or the bows. Okay. So continue. Single knot with the ends tackled in. Although a single knot by itself is not halachically considered knot, if the ends of the string, are then tackled beneath the string, it is considered a knot, for it will not unravel without manipulation. However, this is not professional knot, and thus may be tied temporarily. So here, what we are talking about, let's see if I have something to show you all. 1 second. So 1 second. So I have here a charger, right? Charger cable. So if you go like around something, right? You go. So and then you make, let's say, like single knot. So this single knot is not going to hold, as we all know, right? It can unravel. But if you tackle in, like if you do like this, right? So like this on one side, I don't know if you can see, and this on another side, so it's not going to untie by itself so easily. So that's what they say. They call it a permanent knot. So if you're going to live in more than 24 hours, of course it's not professional knot, but maybe tied temporarily. Okay. So continue. Wrapping with the end tackled in. Just 1 second. No, that's what we just said. Okay, next one, G. Loose double knot. A double knot that is not drawn tight is considered a non-professional knot and may be tied for less than 24 hours. Thus, for example, it is permitted to tie belt of the coat in a loose double knot, since one will obviously undo the knot within the 24 hours in order to remove the coat. So that's, I think it's a perfect example. So when you tie the coat, as we said, like raincoat, it's not your intention to double, to leave it permanently long, because you will not be able to remove the coat. It's simple. And second, and then second, you usually don't do it like tightly. I mean, it's going to hold it without to tie it very tightly. Okay, so let's see. All right, so we have time. All right, continue. Special contingencies. There are some exceptions to the restriction mentioned in thus far. The exception apply in the case of necessities and in case where the performance of the mitzvah call for a knot, for tying a knot. So okay, so now we're going by exceptions, and so one of the biggest exceptions is for a mitzvah, of course. Okay, 8 cases of necessity. Although we stated above that a tied double knot is regarded by most poskim as a professional knot, a tight double knot is professional knot, as we said before. There are some poskim who maintain that if the knot is meant to last. One second. Okay, so sorry about that. Somebody called me. There are some poskim who maintain that if the knot meant, I don't know why it's calling me. There are some poskim who maintain that if the knot is meant to last for less than 24 hours, it cannot be considered a professional one. Okay, so some poskim say if it's less than 24 hours, cannot be considered a professional one. Okay, according to their opinion, it is permitted to tie a double knot with intent to undo within the 24 hours. Double knot. One may rely on these opinions in case of necessity. So they say even double knot in case of necessity, if you're going to untie during the 24 hours, which is good. It is thus permissible in case of necessity to tie shoelaces with double knot, provided that the laces will be untied within when the shoes are removed. For example, a child's shoelaces come undone very frequently. It is permitted to tie them with double knot, provided that one untie them that day. So meaning if you time the way that the child cannot just remove the shoes without untying, when you untie, so it will be permissible. Okay. Another rules mentioned above is that that any knot that is meant to remain tied for more than 1 day is considered somewhat permanent and may not be tied on Shabbos. So as we said before, more than 1 day, it's permanent. However, there are poskim who hold that only a knot that remains to last for longer than 7 days is considered somewhat permanent. And it is permitted to tie a non-professional knot for up to the 7 days. So that's a very lenient opinion, so preferably until the end of the Shabbos, if not 24 hours. If not, so there is opinion that you can go by 7 days. So, but let's not rely on this opinion because we might forget and it's going to go more than 7 days. These opinions, too many are relied upon in cases of necessity. May be relied upon in case of necessity, for whatever necessity is. Okay. Continue. Mitzvah purpose. We're almost done. Mitzvah purposes. According to some poskim, it is permitted to tie a knot. There is ordinary forbidden rabbinically, for example, not professional knot, that will remain in place for more than 24 hours, but not indefinitely. So more than 24 hours, but not indefinitely, for the purpose of performing mitzvah. However, this applies only if mitzvah cannot be fulfilled without fashioning this type of knot. So if you can do without all of this leniency, you must do without all of this leniency. So, okay, so let's see what would be the example. This rule is permitted to very common situation, pertinent. This rule is pertinent to very common situation. It is common to roll up the Sefer Torah after the synagogue Torah reading and tie it with a sash. So a sash is like a belt, right? Now, after the Mincha reading on Shabbos afternoon, the Sefer Torah does not stand to be used for several days. Thus, it is certainly forbidden to tie a double knot in a sash. However, it would be seen that it is forbidden to tie even a single knot with a bow, since the knot will not remain in place for more than 24 hours. Nevertheless, this is permitted for two reasons. So, okay, so let's try to understand the situation. So you have Sefer Torah. So we're talking about Ashkenazic Sefer Torah, not Sephardic. Sephardic, no problem. It's in a box inside. So you just roll in. That's it. You're done. But in Ashkenazic Sefer Torah, you have two poles, right? And you close it together, and you have to tie with a belt. So today we're using Velcro or some like metal hooks, whatever, some things, in order not to use knot. But for many years, and I think some people still using it with the knots. So they tie around this belt and do a knot in a ball. That's what they do to hold the Torah scroll together. So why is it permitted? Because on Shabbos we read in the Mincha time. We read the next week portion, and the next time you're going to read only on Monday morning. So for sure it's more than 24 hours. So they say, just 1 second. Nevertheless, this is permitted for two reasons. Firstly, the knot is necessary for the proper performance of the mitzvah of binding the Torah, Gilila. Right? That's for the mitzvah. It's not for your own entertainment. Secondly, this is considered a case of necessity in which one may rely on opinion that permits tying an ordinary knot that will last up to 7 days. But I would say my comment to this would be, so if it's only one Sefer Torah, if they have more than one Sefer Torah, maybe they're going to read from another one. So that would be a problem. So it won't be permanent. Okay. Continue. In case where the Sefer Torah stands to remain unused for a period longer than 7 days, for example, that's in a show where they go, I think they change. So I mean to read from different Sefer Torahs. So that would be the problem. Longer than 7 days. Periods, for example, it was used for Rosh Chodesh reading. Only for let's say Rosh Chodesh on Shabbos, right? And then the next time they're going to read it only next Rosh Chodesh. That's definitely a problem. The only basis to permit the time of the bow knot is that it is necessary for performance of the mitzvah. In such a situation, if possible, one should merely wrap the sash tightly around the Sefer Torah and tackle in the ends. So tight, tie around the Sefer Torah and tackle without any knots. So I mean, it's going to hold. As this is not considered a knot at all. So without even single knot. Before example, we gave this a single knot. This we just like circle around with the rope and then tackle the ends on both sides. Where this is unfeasible, for example, the shas may unravel, so for whatever reason, one may tie a bow knot. So still, even though it's more than 7 days, it's for me, so there is no other way. So they allowed, but today they found, I mean, not today, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, they invented this Velcro and it's a solution to all of the issues. Continue, practical applications. Many practical applications of these laws are listed at the end of the following chapters, together with those of Untie. Okay, so we can stop here, finish the chapter. Any questions on any topic, please?
I have a question about the seed strings. When when we go to the bathroom, can we tie the strings to avoid any contact with any forbidden element?
I'm not sure. I didn't get. So you have your tzitzit, and you want to go to the bathroom?
Yes. Can we tie the strings?
Why didn't you tie them? I'm sorry. So it would not fall into the bathroom.
Yes, to protect
Okay.
the.
So what you do? It's very practical. So what you do? You just put them all together, like this.
Yes.
In front of you, you just hold them in front of you. That's it. Then nothing's going to happen.
Tie behind you is possible, or only
No, to tie them behind you. No, it's not. I mean, if it's I mean, you can tie them, like if you want to tie them in one single knot, for example. Then that's going to allow. There is no problem. Yeah, you can do that. But if it's on, they're long enough. If they're shorter, like the thinner one, they're not long enough. You will not be able to. But with longer, yes, you can tie in single knot.
And the second question is about the belts permitted on Shabbos for our trousers, for our
belt. No, I didn't get what.
Belt.
What like a belt that you put in the pants?
Yes, I have, for example, I have one which works only on pressure, and another belt that is with holes, which is better on Shabbos.
With the pressure, I don't say, oh, with the pressure. Okay, I see what he's saying. So it's like a small, so many small things. So it's like adjust exactly. I think that there's no problem with that belt. If you want to show me, I know better. Show me like after the class. If you should send me the picture. But
yes,
if I understand correctly, there is no problem.
It's the type of Velcro belt. I think that is the belt I am talking about.
Say it again. I didn't get it. It's what?
A Velcro belt.
Oh, Velcro. There's no problem whatsoever. It's not considered to be a knot.
Okay. And the belts with holes. What about them?
There's no problem whatsoever. No problem. It's not. It's not considered with tying. So tying, as we said, when you take two ends and you do something with them. Yes. So that's not what you do. And plus, it's always absolutely always temporary. I mean, you cannot take your pants off, right? If you don't take you and untie your belt. So that's with the shoelaces it's possible, but with the belt it's impossible. So it's always, absolutely always, for a short period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Abraham, any questions? Read. Yeah, go ahead.
About the strings.
Yes.
It's only prohibited for Shabbos, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's one of the 39 milachas, 39 restricted activities on Shabbos to tie and untie things. Right. Mm-hmm. So, but we said only like as we were discussing, you join on time, HaShem. So all of these permanent ones, like double knots, they would be forbidden. But the way I see it, the only thing that we tie is our shoelaces. Sometimes if you have this raincoat, you would tie the belt, or you tie the food packages. So with food packages, you should be very, very careful, because usually during the week you tie this bag where you have challah, the bread, wherever you do. So that's would be the problem. So you gotta be careful with that. But otherwise, I don't see any issues. Okay, of course, we need to go to the practical applications, but just from the top of my head, I don't see any issues. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. You said something about 24 hours?
Yes.
Is that like a...
Yes. So So we said, so one of the restrictions is to tie a permanent knot. So permanent knot, we said one of the definition is less than 24 hours is not permanent knot. More than 24 hours is permanent knot. That's where this 24 hours stand.
Okay, thank you.
Makes sense? Okay. David, we done?
No, yes.
All right. Baruch Hashem. So thank you very much. So let's meet tomorrow again, B'ezrat Hashem, at 9 p.m. Thank you. All right.
אני מברך את הרבנים, רגע. אני מברך את הרבנים, הרב ירון ראובן, הרב אפרים כחלון, ראשי ארגון בעזרת השם, שהלכו בפי עליון, שעלו מעלה, יהיה להם ברכה והצלחה, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא בישועות ליבם לטובה ולברכה, שבכל מה שיפנו ישכילו ויצליחו, יזכו לעשות כאלה וכאלה, הרדינו תורה לאדירה, אמן ואמן.
בעזרת השם רשת בכל הארץ. הוא היהודי הזה, הוא היה מיליונר, סגר את כל הביזנס, אמר אני משקיע פה בעולמה של תורה.
איפה הוא גר?
בפלורידה.
פלורידה, איפה זה פלורידה? באמריקה.
במיימי. כן, ליד. אנחנו שם עכשיו הולכים להקים קהילה ספרדית.
חזק אותו בשמי.
קהילה ספרדית גדולה.
תעבירו מה שבירכתי אותו.
כן, קהילה ספרדית גדולה. אני